Hey guys, Izzy here, back with another Let's Talk About video, and today we'll actually be talking about terastallization, or teralize, or type, whatever Game Freak wants to call it, honestly, I have no fucking clue. But basically, what we'll be talking about today is Generation 9's new gimmick, terastallization, for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Now, basically what I'll be talking about today is how it works, but I also just want to really talk about how this is going to affect the competitive aspect of Pokemon, like the competitive scene, whether this be VGC or singles, because I do think that this gimmick is something that's very, it's big. Like, it's not just a very small gimmick. It's not something that is only going to impact, like, a small portion of the competitive play. I do believe that this is going to be extremely big for the competitive play, and will probably change the way that we play competitive nowadays, regardless of whether you play VGC or singles. But anyway, guys, if you've been living under a rock and haven't caught up with, the Pokemon news, basically how terastallization or teralize or type works is your Pokemon is able to terastallize once per battle, and you can terastallize any Pokemon at all at any given time, so long as it's the only one that you're terastallizing in that match. Now, it does change the appearance of your Pokemon. It's not like Dynamax where it just makes it big. It does change it a little bit. It does kind of turn it into like a gemstone, so your Pokemon is covered in this like gem-like coat, I guess you could say, and it gives your Pokemon a pretty little hat. Usually a gemstone hat, and it's meant to symbolize or signal what Terra type your Pokemon is turning into. As you can see on screen, basically, there are different Terra types, and it's one for each typing, so every typing actually has a Terra type, and you typically, at least for what we've been explained thus far, normal Pokemon that you catch in the wild, at least commonly, right, do have all Pokemon have a determined Terra type, but common Pokemon typically have a Terra type within their typing chart. So, for example, if you're catching a Pikachu that is purely electric, it'll have the electric Terra type. But if you happen to catch, say, for example, something like a Metagross, then it'll more than likely have the Steel Terra type or the Psychic Terra type. You see, it's within their typing. They'll have a Terra type. Now, you're able to catch rare Terra types in the wild, so that's why I did mention common Pokemon typically have those Terra types, but you're still able to hunt down those that have rare Terra types, like, for example, catching a Pikachu with the Flying Terra type, for example, or a Metagross with the ground Terra type. Now, what does this do? What does this entail? Like, what happens when this Pokemon, like, terastallizes, right? Like, does it give it a third typing? It doesn't. It overrides fully all the typing that the Pokemon has, and it turns it into what the Terra type is purely. So, at least, again, this is at least as of the information that we have thus far, because I don't believe we've received any information on whether the fact that this new phenomenon lasts for just a couple of turns. Thus far, it has been shown to last, the whole match. It's just that you can only terastallize once per match. But the thing is, and there's like no held items for this. Like, thus far, there isn't like a held item that the Pokemon needs to have in order to terastallize. So yeah, if there is an item, then we'll see. But thus far, we haven't had any reveals on, like, the Pokemon having to have a held item to terastallize. Any Pokemon can terastallize, basically. Just like Dynamax and Gigantamax. Well, like, Gigantamax is exclusive to certain Pokemon, but still, Dynamax, every Pokemon, pretty much the same. So yeah. What was I saying? Basically, the terastallization causes it to turn into whatever the Terra type is. And this is pretty big. This is pretty big, because this means, let's say, for example, just to put out a quickie, if you have like a Metagross that is Steel Psychic, but has a Terra type of Flying, it will be immune to ground types once it terrestrializes. And that in it of itself is pretty big, not only because of course you're avoiding to get hit from something that you're getting weak to, but you're also gaining every benefit of being a flying type and every weakness of being a flying type, and completely nullify any weakness that you had as a psychic or steel type. So that's pretty big, right? Like, you're able to change the tides of battles with that in a very, I guess it could be either in a very offensive way or in a very defensive way. And you know, that sounds pretty neat, right? Like, that's definitely going to change the way that we're going to be playing Pokemon, especially in the competitive scene, because that's just pretty big, right? That brings a huge unpredictability to pretty much every match. Now, of course, I do believe in a way that there will be, I guess you could say, because it's kind of like Dynamax, right? Like, every Pokemon can Dynamax, but at the same time, not every Pokemon is good Dynamaxing, right? Like, not every Pokemon in existence is going to be good just because Dynamax exists, right? Like, there are staples, there are Pokemon that commonly Dynamax because they are the more beneficial Pokemon to Dynamax. And I feel like it's probably going to be the same thing for Terastallize. However, it's going to be a lot broader. So the viability that this new gimmick is going to bring to Pokemon is going to be much it's going to be to a much wider or a bigger audience of Pokemon, right? Like, it's not going big and hitting hard with your specific moves. It's you're turning into a completely different type, and turning your Pokemon into a completely different type could be literally game changing, like viability changing to that Pokemon, right? Like, it's big. And the thing is, if this was just it, maybe it would be fine, right? But it's not only that your Pokemon does turn into whatever typing you have as a Terra type. There's also the move Terra Blast. Now, what Terra Blast is it acts kind of like the hidden power, but instead of course, using your IVs to predetermine what typing the hidden power is going to be, is actually going to be based off your Terra type. But it only works, well, at least the typing that it only takes the typing when you Terastallize. Now, how strong is the move? We have yet to know. It's called Terra Blast. I'm assuming it's something around 80 to 100. That's just how I kind of assume it by the name. But it's not even just that. If the Pokemon, for example, is something like a let's just put out a hypothetical, right? Let's say it's a Zoroark. Yeah, let's say it's a Zoroark, and Zoroark doesn't have a water type move. Well, lucky for you, your Zoroark actually has the water Terra type, and not only that, you have Terra Blast. So now, the Pokemon that didn't have that specific coverage move is now using a water type move. That's pretty big. That's pretty big. Like, the example in and of itself is pretty bad, but it's to give you like an example. Like, let's say you're fighting against a specific Pokemon that you know, because you've seen the move pool, does not have a specific type of move that is going to end your Pokemon if it does have it. So you're like, okay, perfect. So this Pokemon is no match for me. Well, unluckily, your opponent actually has Terra type and Terra Blast in order to hit the Pokemon. That is kind of strong. Let's say, for example, like something like Regieleki. Let's say Regieleki is trying to destroy a Gastrodon. Well, lucky for you, your Eleki has the Grass Terra type and is now no longer walled by fucking Gastrodon. And you can see, like, this is something that's definitely going to change the tide of battle by a large margin, because something that could be as simple as, well, I think I already have my win condition, can now change into, well, what the hell do I do now? How the hell do I stop this Pokemon? And it's not like that is just gonna be a minor inconvenience. This is something that's gonna last throughout the match, and this is gonna be something that's probably gonna be very problematic or at least at the beginning stages. This is always going to be problematic in the beginning stages, but it's probably going to be an issue in the VGC format because of the fact that you have to select 4 of your 6 Pokemon. So you mainly actually do prepare for the Pokemon that you're seeing on screen in, you know, the team preview. But how exactly are you supposed to prepare for something as unpredictable as terrestrializing, right? Like, there's almost no way that you would be able to 100% prepare, or even 75% prepare for a team matchup, right, where your opponent can switch or can be any Terra type at all. Like, of course, it's not like your opponent can switch their Terra type mid battle. Like, no, they can't. The Pokemon has a predetermined Terra type, and that's going to be the Terra type that it's going to have. But you don't know that. Like, you don't know what Terra type your opponent might have. You don't know which Pokemon he might be Terastallized. Now, again, this more than likely is going to be a thing like Dynamax. The biggest issue, though, like, I compare it with Dynamax, but Dynamax only lasts for 3 turns, so you only have to survive for 3 turns, and even then, it was very detrimental. Like, it could definitely change tide of battles, which I honestly like. I don't mind when the game is or has some unpredictability. Of course, we've already played through the format. We've already played almost, what, 2 years or so of Pokemon Generation 8 VGC, so we already have a good idea as to which Pokemons more than likely are going to be Dynamaxing, because there's a lot more benefit to certain Pokemon than just any other, because, again, like I said, Dynamax didn't make every single Pokemon viable, it just made a lot more Pokemon viable. And I believe that Terastallization is going to be the same in a way, but the thing is that it's going to be viable, sure, but what typing is it going to be? There's 18 typings in the game, and there's so many possibilities that your opponent might have one of, like, they obviously are going to have one of them, but it's the unpredictability of, not knowing which Pokemon is going to Terastallize, what typing the Pokemon is going to be Terastallizing into, and are they going to do it in a defensive way, or are they going to be doing it in an offensive way? That's kind of the gist of it, because you're no longer going to be thinking, okay, well, I'm gonna hit this Pokemon with a electric type move because it's super effective to them, or it's neutral to them and it's going to KO them, just to have them turn into a ground Terra type and just absolutely nullify that turn for you, and more than likely KO you at the process. That's kind of what I'm saying. I do feel like, in a certain way, a lot of unpredictability can be very unhealthy, because sure, you could be a very unique Pokemon player, not Pokemon player, a team builder, and make very unconventional teams, be very unpredictable, be anti-meta, and that's cool and all. But when it comes with this amount of unpredictability, because regardless of, at least in this current generation 8, you can still kind of glimpse or know what the Pokemon might be going out or having on their arsenal, just because you have a lot of Pokemon knowledge, and you might already be expecting or know what that Pokemon that you rarely ever see in the metagame kind of does. But this just brings a completely new unpredictability to the game, and while I'm all in for it, honestly, I'm very curious to see how this is going to affect, again, the competitive scene of Pokemon, how this is going to change the way that we play Pokemon forever, because it's going to be so huge. I'm hyped, but I'm overall, like, I'm extremely hyped for the games, right? But overall, I'm like mostly curious to see like how this is gonna entail, right? Like how this is gonna unfold, because I believe it's going to be extremely chaotic in a way, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun, honestly. I'm here just talking about how it's going to affect the game, but I feel like it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm gonna be like, we're definitely gonna get frustrated a lot because we don't know, but it's part of the process. And like I said, I do honestly believe that it's going to be like this Dynamax metagame where we get the idea of which Pokemons typically Terastallize, and we'll probably have like a commonly known, I guess it's quote-unquote commonly known types for those Pokemon, because not all typings are going to be extremely beneficial for that Pokemon. And say, for example, like, we'll more than likely see things like fighting type Pokemon that don't have a dark type move have a dark type move instead for their Terra type, or it's going to be good for when they're fighting against psychics, or not much fucking psychics, not psychics, not going to be good against like fairy types, but you get the gist of it, right? Like, there's going to definitely be Pokemon that have a beneficial Terra type and are more benefit the most from Terastallizing than other Pokemon. And while it is going to be something that can be used defensively or offensively, which adds to the unpredictability, I do believe this gimmick is going to be used as in an offensive way most of the time, just because of the sheer power that you get from Terastallizing, because you get the stat boost plus the boost from Terastallizing. So that in and of itself is going to be pretty fucking massive, right? So we'll have to wait and see how hard these Pokemons do hit, because if I'm not mistaken, I believe what I've been able to see from other content creators is that it hits around 2 times the amount. That's gonna be pretty massive, right? Like, that's gonna be a pretty good chunk of damage that the Pokemon is going to be doing. So we'll just have to wait and see how unhealthy or healthy it's going to be for the metagame. But I'm just really hyped for Generation 9. I just can't wait for them to release. I wanted to make this video for a while, but I guess I was just waiting for more information on Terastallization, but I believe we pretty much have all the information we needed, at least to give an opinion on it. And if any new information does come out, I'll probably talk about it. I might go over a little bit more information from Scarlet and Violet before the games come out, and then when they come out, I'll probably give a better, oversight or opinion on them, because I would have just played them by then, so I'll have a better opinion on them. But anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in today's video. Sorry if I ramble on for too long. I just, when it comes to Pokemon, I kind of talk a little bit too much. But anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Feel free to hit subscribe button, like, and comment below if you guys want to let me know, what do you think about Terastallization, Terratype, Terastallize? How do you pronounce it? How you say it? Comment below, let me know. Do you think it's going to be unhealthy? Do you think it's going to be a cool gimmick? Do you absolutely fucking hate it, like everyone hated the fucking C moves? Or is it an okay gimmick? Is it something that you're welcoming? Let me know in the comment section below. And we're also very, very close to 200 subscribers, so if you guys could get me there, I can absolutely fucking appreciate you guys. Regardless, I appreciate you guys so much. You guys have been showing a lot of support to my videos, and I can't thank you enough. But anyway, guys, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.